Welcome back to my channel for an episode which I believe will be very interesting and on my side also a lot of fun. I have here in front of me on the table my new Hasselblad X2D II. Was quite a journey to get it. I'll post the link to a video describing my journey down below in the info box. If you have not seen it, you can look this up. And I've also mounted my already by now beloved XCD 35-100E lens. This camera lens combo, in my opinion, is almost unbeatable. But that's of course not the topic of the video. And by the way, if you want to see my lens reviews for the 20-35E and the 35-100E, I will also post the links down below in the info box. The topic of this video is actually almost kind of a legacy topic, because I have here in front of me on the table 8 older XCD lenses, and I'll explain them in a moment in the course of the video. We already know which lenses are compatible with the new X2D II. I'll cover them in a moment. And then there were a lot of questions and comments from you guys in the last weeks. How is it if I shoot, for instance, the XCD 45P on the new X2D II? Is it working? Is the autofocus fast? What would I find if I buy this new camera body and mount one of my older XCD lenses? And in this video, I will answer all of these questions for these 8 lenses here in front of me on the table. So the game plan is I will mount them all on the Hasselblad X2D II. I will make sure they have the newest firmware according to Hasselblad's website. We have Jennifer in the background, so we can test how snappy the autofocus is. And in this way, I hope I can help you to find your own conclusions and to address the questions you asked me in the comments. It will be a bit of work. It will also be fun on one side, also a little bit tedious mounting all these lenses. But I think I owe it to you because I have all these lenses and I have the new camera. So hopefully you will enjoy this episode. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. For you, it's for free. For me, it's very helpful to increase the reach of my channel. Many thanks for that. All right, let's get this done. The first lens I want to shoot and test here is the 120mm macro lens. Widest open is an f3.5. That's an excellent lens for macro shooting. Hasselblad advertises it as a macro lens, although its magnification is only 1:2, so 50%. And this lens here always historically shot on older X cameras or V cameras has a very, very slow autofocus, which is kind of normal for tele macro lenses. So don't be disappointed about that. It's totally normal. It happens also in other brands and systems. And this is a lens which I want to start with because it's probably the most challenging one. So let's first of all check the firmware. I'm going here into General. Let's go down here. Let's go to Service. And the newest firmware at this point in time when filming this video on the camera is 1.1.9.2. Just check this up and the lens firmware is still 0.6.4, which has been out for a longer time. And first of all, let's go into autofocus single and let's go here to spot and let's see if we find Jennifer's face or body here. That looks good. Let's switch focus. You see this is slow, but it always finds focus. Back to Jennifer. This lens has always been slow on any camera body I shot it. But it is a macro lens and it is a tele macro lens, 120mm. So don't be disappointed about that. So focus generally works. Let's do this once more. You can probably count to 2 before focus is found. Here it's hunting now a little bit. Look at that. Now it's back on Jennifer's body. Let's see if face recognition works. Let's go here into this one here and let's say human. Let's go to white. And let's see if it detects Jennifer's face. Yes, it does. Look here. Missed focus. Detected the body, detected the eye. So this clearly is a candidate because we have to go through 8 lenses. I need to rush a little bit. This is a candidate for a lens which will likely never perform very well in terms of autofocus, independently of what Hasselblad further injects in their camera bodies. But as I said, it's a tele macro lens And I actually focus this lens very often manually and not with autofocus at all, because first of all, it's quicker, and second, I have full control. Let's go once more to the face. You see the face is recognized. Even the eye, I think, is recognized here. Look at that. But it hunts forth and back, and then it finds focus. Let's take one shot and let's see if this is sharp. Let's go into here and tap. And yes, look at the eye. The eye is recognized. Look, the nose is a little bit blurry almost. No, it's actually okay. And the eye is sharp, the eyebrows are sharp. I think this looks good. So with a little bit of patience, we can claim on this lens, autofocus works, but is super, super slow. I'm, by the way, shooting here widest open. Let me get the status screen here at f3.5, which is the widest aperture this lens has to offer. By the way, let me also always comment on play between the lens and the lens mount on the camera body. And I showed already that my 35-100E on the new X2D Mark II has absolutely no play. And by the way, the same is true for the XCD 120mm macro lens here. There's absolutely no play. Nothing I feel. This is sitting solid like a rock on the lens mount. And that's of course good. And I will make this comment also on all the other remaining 7 lenses. Let's now go into the status screen here, the control screen, and let's see if we can switch in the autofocus continuous. I guess we can't. And autofocus continuous is grayed out with the usual message I showed a couple of times on my channel. AFC not supported by lens firmware version. That is a message which gives hope. Maybe by firmware it can be updated, but there's also a lot of debates going on in the web that the hardware of these older lenses does not support AFC at all. So maybe there will never be a firmware version for the lens which will give us AFC. So it will stay on AFS, and that's basically what we need to accept here. It recognizes the eye pretty well here. Look at that. Quite nice. But that's all. And that's what we also had on the X2D. And on the X2D Mark II, AFC will not work with that lens at this point in time. Lens number 2 is the Hasselblad XCD 135mm. And I've also mounted here already, which is a very brave decision, the X Converter 1.7. I had to move Jennifer far out in order not to violate any minimum focusing distance. And let's see what we get with this lens. Oh, by the way, first of all, firmware check. Let's go here. Let's go to General. And let's go here to Service. And we have also here version 0.6.4 on the lens firmware, which is the newest one according to Hasselblad's website. So let's focus on Jennifer. Let's see how this plays out. Focus, background, considerably faster than a 120mm macro lens, although the converter is even mounted. Look at that. Well, I was praising the day too early. That took a while. Background is good. Back to Jennifer. Missed focus. Missed focus. Very slowly missed focus a third time. Now we have it. So this is also super slow, and I will unmount the converter in a moment. Let's see if this gets more speedy. Let's try face recognition here. So let's go to humans, and let's go here on white. It should recognize the face. Let's see. Yes, it recognizes the face. You see that? And let's try to focus. Let's go into play. Let's tap in. And yes, the focus is fine. It's overexposed, but the focus is fine on the eye. There is some in-camera image post-processing going on. You saw that, how the face changed? Interesting. And that's, of course, very likely the HDR feature we have activated. Maybe I switch this off for the time being. Let's go here into quality. And in quality, let's deactivate HDR. Let's try to shoot Jennifer's face again. And then we should not see this image processing going on and her face changing. The eye is sharp. The eyebrows are sharp. I think this looks good. And the post-processing is also gone. So I'm fine with that result. Autofocus continuous will be grayed out in the same way as on the 120mm with the same message, not supported by lens firmware version. So that's it. I will not repeat all my remarks on that with every lens, of course. And in terms of play on the lens mount, so if there is a little play, it's hardly noticeable. I think it sits very solid on the camera body. I think they changed the mount on the camera body in the evolution from the X2D to the X2D Mark II. And maybe again, what they repeatedly did now, did listen to their users and their photographers, that this was just annoying, that there was always this play between the X2D camera body and the XCD lens. It sits actually pretty firm. No play. I don't hear anything. Looks good. All right, that was the second lens. Let's now move on to the XCD 80mm. Actually, we'll not move on to the 80mm at this point in time because I promised to also show you the 135mm lens without the converter. And the converter is now here on the table. You see it here. And let's try now how this is working. Let's wake the camera up. I changed presentation to the distance scale here, and I'm already in face recognition, and you see the lens recognizes Jennifer's face. Is also pretty sticky. Look at that. That is actually pretty cool. And I think face recognition, even without continuous autofocus, is a very helpful feature. But anyway, let's try to take a shot and let's see if this is sharp and in focus. Let's zoom in. Yes, this is sharp and in focus, looks really good. Let's try this again. Let's always take a few samples so we can be sure that this lens is performing with the X2D Mark II. If I give you that recommendation, I want to be on the safe side. Let's crop in. Yes, sharp and in focus. One more. Now it's even recognizing Jennifer's eye. Look at that. Let's take the shot. Let's see how this looks like, sharp and in focus. So the lens is performing with face recognition. The recognition is basically sticky on Jennifer's face. That's good. Let's go to autofocus single combined with spot here, and let's deactivate the human recognition. And let's focus just on Jennifer's body and then on the background. Background, Jennifer. This is a focus miss. Look at that. The background is not sharp and Jennifer is not sharp, and I'm actually pointing with the focus field at the background. Now it's working again. So it is slow. It is not really convincing, but it works. And let's see, there is always this message which I showed repeated times on firmware is not yet ready for autofocus continuous. And we see this here. If you look here, autofocus continuous is grayed out in the usual way as we saw it. It seems that the focus is working, but is not super fast. And it probably never was super fast. Look at that, it's not picking up on Jennifer. I pointed Jennifer. Let me get this better into the camera so you see this. Now it's picking up on Jennifer. Background, long focus way, long travel. Back on Jennifer. Background, back on Jennifer. One shot. Let's see at her body. Yeah, it's at least sharp and in focus. So it's not a super convincing camera lens combination. It works. I should say it works most of the time. I would call this a compatible lens, but it's not really making a lot of fun to use that lens on the X2D Mark II. And this lens has play on the camera body. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it and I can hear it. So the lens standalone is not sitting as firmly as when you mount the X converter in between the camera body and the lens. Next lens is the XCD 80mm, and that lens also used to be slow in terms of autofocus in the past. Let's see what we get on the X2D Mark II. Let's first check the firmware. Let's get the camera switched on again. I switched it off. Seems so. Let's go into the menu here. Let's, by the way, go back here to my usual representation. Let's go here into general service. And this is 0.64 is the newest version for the XCD 80mm. So we're good to go. Let's focus on Jennifer. Wow, listen to the motor who is moving the glass. This is impressive. Let's first focus on the background so you get that sound here. Jennifer. Missed focus on Jennifer, although I pointed at her. You need to see this here. This is interesting. Have a look how this lens tube is moving. And you hear the motor? Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't become aggressive here. Oh my gosh. All right. So that's anyway the way it works. I have Jennifer. Let's try to get a sharp shot of her body. Let's see how this looks like. And yeah, it's sharp and in focus. Looks actually really good. Let's quickly look here into the menu. Let's see if AFC is grayed out. Same story as always with these older lenses. Let's go here to white and to human face recognition. Let's see if her face is found. Yes, immediately. Look at that. That face recognition algorithm used to be already ingenious on the X2D, to be honest. It's just that autofocus continuous was missing. Boom. Yes, and this is sharp and in focus. So I think we can call the XCD 80mm compatible, but it's far from being fun shooting it on the X2D Mark II. It's slow. And what I also realize is since I now have this super fast 35-100E zoom lens on the X2D Mark II, which is super fast in autofocus and very reliable in recognition of objects, subjects, and then also in tracking, I'm really finding these older XCD lenses tedious. Although the image quality is absolutely fantastic, right? Let's move on to the XCD 65 now. Oh no, before doing that, let me comment on play on the lens mount. This is actually sitting solid like a rock. There is no play if you mount the XCD 80mm to the X2D Mark II. No play, no noise. It's sitting very, very firm. Next lens is the XCD 65. Firmware upgrade just succeeded here. Let's go on OK. Let's check the firmware. Let's go to General. Let's get this here into service. And it's 0.6.4, which is the newest firmware for this particular lens. Let's go here into autofocus single. Let's go to spot and let's switch off human face recognition. Let's see. Jennifer, background, Jennifer, background. It's loud. Watch the lens. You hear the motor? But it works. Let's try this again. Focus, 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 focus. This lens works reliably on the X2D Mark II. And by the way, no play, not a tiny little bit of play between the lens and the lens mount. As I said before, I think Hasselblad did something to the lens mount on the camera body compared to the X2D. Really solid, really good. This works. Good, good, good. I'm happy with that. That is enough evidence for me that this lens is fully usable and deployable on the Hasselblad X2D Mark II. Let's check here. Autofocus continuous, of course, grayed out. And I showed in another video the list of lenses which actually support autofocus continuous. This lens here is not in that list. Let's go back here. Let's go now to face detection. Let's go to wide again and human. Let's try this out. Jennifer's face immediately recognized. Look here. Let's take a shot. Play. What? I don't think I nailed that focus. Let's try this again. Tap in. Still a little bit blurry. What do you think? I don't think it's as sharp as the other images we saw from Jennifer's face. Let's try this again. Everything here is right? I have here human, I have white. That's actually okay. Let's go to expandable spot for the time being. And let's see if this helps. It is almost sharp, but not as brilliantly sharp as I know this lens from other shootings. Let's try something else. Experimental here. Let's go to spot, human. Let's have a look. No, I don't like that image. It's not sharp, it's not crisp, it's not good. Let's try this again without human face detection. And let's go this time to expand spot. Let's, by the way, move the focus field to her face. Let's go in. Now it's sharp and in focus. This is the Jennifer as we know her. Really nice. That worked better. Let's go back to human face recognition here. Let's try this again. Sharp and in focus. Well, I'm not so sure if I'm happy with these results. Let's go to wide again. Let's try this again. Let's center the focus field. Now it's blurry. Look at that. It is not sharp. So this is not reliable. So I have to rewind the tape and basically let you know that if you here want to work with subject detection, this is not nailing the focus, unfortunately. I tried once more. I'm a little bit surprised about that. Maybe it's a firmware issue, but it's the newest firmware on the website. No, it's almost sharp, but it's not really sharp. This camera, this lens also on the X2D can do better. And this is not a satisfying result. So I rewind the tape, take back what I said before. I would not recommend the XCD 65mm on the X2D Mark II. The next lens is this beauty here. And this is the 45p lens with widest open f4. There is another 45mm lens here in the background on the table. And that used to be one of my favorite lenses. It's almost like a pancake lens, very small, very compact, perfect for street photography on the Hasselblad X2D, the predecessor. Now I'm really curious if this lens performs here. And let's first check the firmware again. Let's go here to service. And it doesn't tell me anything about the lens firmware here. Is it not fully mounted maybe? Let's unmount this. No lens detected. Look at that. That's very interesting. That's for the first time that I have this. Let's not continue with a hot swap. Let's get the lens unmounted. And let's get the lens mounted again. That was the first time I got a message like this. It snapped in. It has a little bit of play on the camera body. Not much, not as much as on the X2D Mark I. Let's switch this on. It doesn't do any lens detection. I think I showed this in one video. Typically, when I mount one of the older XCD lenses, it says lens initializing. And that's not happening here. And that's very interesting. No lens detected. Look at that. It also doesn't give me an F number here. Nothing I can do. Maybe I should update it on the X2D if it is not updated and check again. So let me try to do this. All right. I thought maybe you guys want to watch live how I now try to test the 45p, whether it's still working on the X2D Mark I. And let's switch it on. Let's see what happened to my 45p. I'm a little bit puzzled what happened here. Let's go here into the service menu. Service. Yes, and I think this lens needs an update. Maybe that's the reason why it didn't actually work and was not recognized on the X2D Mark II. Let's check for an update. And it's 0136. That's the correct one. Let's go to update here. Let's go to update. Let's see if this works. Do not turn off. We need a little bit of patience here. I let the camera do its thing and then I come back, okay? Okay, update succeeded. Let's check this quickly. Let's go here. Service 0.1.36. That's correct. So let's switch the X2D off and let's get this lens back to the X2D Mark II and let's see if it works now. All right, here we go. Let's get this changed. Where's the red dot? Here we go. Let's switch on the camera again. Let's see if the lens is recognized now. Yes. No. Now it comes. Look here. Lens initializing. That's the screen I know from every older lens I mounted before. And it underlines the importance of checking, which I missed on this lens, unfortunately, whether it has the newest firmware already. Otherwise, it's not recognized and you become very frustrated. Let's get this off here. Let's start with spot again. And let's first look at the lens mount. This sits solid like a rock. No play at all. It had so much play on the X2D Mark I, and here it has no play. It's really, really nice. I like this construction, but I'm already starting to praise the day before the evening. Let's first go and see how the autofocus is working. And Jennifer's body, yes, not fast, but it finds focus. Background. Listen to the motor. You see that here? Let's go here to Jennifer. So you see the lens tube coming out when it focuses, and listen to the motor. You hear this? All right, it's a lot of fun, this video. It's by far not tedious. Jennifer, background. Let's shoot Jennifer's body. Let's see if this is sharp and in focus. Oh, I missed my compact flash express type B card. Look, this is so unprofessional. Let me quickly get it because I had to load the firmware update, of course, the newest firmware on the X2D Mark I. Let me quickly get it, insert it, and then we take that shot and look at the image. Or maybe, you know, we don't need to actually that. I'm here on storage. Let me just quickly show you. And on storage, I say primary compact flash express type B card. Let's go to SSD. Backup. Okay, overflow. Here we go. Nice. The shutter is also very silent. Listen to that again. It's a very nice lens. I love this lens on the X2D. I'm not sure yet if I fall in love again on the X2D Mark II. But let's look at the image. Let's see if Jennifer's body is sharp. And I think it is. It's pinpoint sharp. It's really sharp. Let's go to face recognition now. Let's see here. Let's turn this on. Let's go to white so it surges. And it immediately recognizes Jennifer's face. Let's also the eye here. Let's take a shot. Taking the opportunity. Let's have a look. Very sharp, very nice and in focus. This looks good. Let's try this again. This is not really sharp. Let's try again. That sound is so strange. Listen to that. I do it again. Almost as if the motors in the lens would be stressed out by my task to focus at Jennifer's face. And this is almost sharp, but not really sharp. I do it again. I'm a patient person just today. Now it's the face and not the eye. And I guess now it will be sharp. This is sharp. This is nice. This is okay. But not highly reliable, right? Because it switches from face to eye and vice versa. Let's get Jennifer a bit closer. I mean, Jennifer is not a real human being, although it hurts to say this out loudly. I think this is sharp now. Let's do this again. Look, it switches. Sometimes it takes the eye, but the sound, listen to the sound. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think it's kind of sharp. I'm not super happy, you know. Again, I did praise the day before the evening. The lens is sitting rock solid on the camera body. Results are a mixed bag in terms of where the focus is sitting and whether I nailed it. Not 100% convincing. Let's switch the camera off and let's move on to the XCD 45 without an P, which has a slightly wider open aperture. Okay, we are getting close to the end. This is the next lens here. This is the XCD 45. As I said, it has a widest open aperture of 3.5 compared to the 45P, which is a 4.0. And it was one of my first lenses, one of the first lenses I purchased back then when I started my Hasselblad journey in the X system with the X1D and the X1D Mark II. And I love this lens because I think 45mm is a beautiful focal length on this 44x33mm sensor. But let's see how it performs. So I'm currently here in spot and autofocus single. By the way, autofocus continuous grayed out. No surprise any longer. Let's focus on Jennifer. Good. Background. Jennifer. Background. Jennifer. Background. Ooh, that is a totally different leaf shutter than what we heard in the XCD 45P, right? Let's go here into play. Let's have a look at her body. This is sharp. This looks good. I'm happy with that result. By the way, it sits very solid on the camera body, no play at all. Just to repeatedly make that remark because I know it interests you. Let's go here into white and human. Jennifer's beautiful face, recognized. This is also not completely sharp. It's kind of the same as what we saw before with other older lenses. It's a little bit blurry. It's not sharp, although it shows me here clearly that Jennifer's face is recognized. You see that square around her face. Let me focus. And we have 1/50 seconds and in-body image stabilization, so there should go nothing wrong. Let's tap on her face. Now it's sharp and in focus, but I'm not sure how reliable this is. Let me try this again. No, look at that. This is blurry again. This is not sharp. It is not sharp as it should be. It's not the quality I know when I shoot the X2D Mark I with that lens. It's not what it should be. Blurry. This is not sharp. All right, I give up on that lens. I think that is also not a convincing candidate to stay in my lens collection. Let's move on to the next one, which is the XCD 30mm. 30mm lens is mounted. This is widest open f3.5 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I see it. And let's start with the usual suspects. Let's go here to spot and take the human detection off. By the way, it sits solid like a rock on the camera body, on the lens mount, no problem at all. So build quality super high. Jennifer, background. You know what? When you're used to these brand new lenses, for instance, the 35-100E, and how the motor is silent and how the focus is quick and snappy, you kind of start to lose interest on these older XCD lenses. But I come back to this at the end of the video. Let's do a near distance focus. Watch the lens tube and listen to the motor. Wow. Okay. Anyway, it seems to work. Jennifer, background. Jennifer. Okay, this is good. Let's take a shot of Jennifer's body. This worked so far with all the lenses we looked into. This is sharp and in focus. Looks really good. All right, let's go to face recognition. Let's go here, human. Let's go to white. And by the way, let's quickly check. No autofocus continuous. Usual message. Face is recognized. Maybe I get her even a bit closer. Kind of sharp. Not sharp. Same phenomenon as with the other lenses. This is just not as sharp as it should be and as it was. And I have reviews on all these lenses on my channel. On the predecessor, the X2D Mark I. Is not really satisfying. Let's do this again. And it's the newest firmware, right? I mean, I didn't show you, but it's 0.6.4 according to Hasselblad. And you see here 0.6.4. So it's the newest firmware, but it is not really cooperating with the Mark II as it used to cooperate with the Mark I. You see the face is recognized. It actually sits like nailed on Jennifer's face. It's really cool how this is detected and recognized. But if I take the shot, this one is sharp. This one is sharp, at least. Let's go back. Let's try this again. This one is sharp too. Let's do a third one. Then we conclude it's sharp and it works. Unfortunately, this one is not sharp. Look at that. It is just blurry. It's not crispy. It's not what it should be. Anyway, okay, let's move on to the last lens. That's the XCD 21mm. Let's switch this off just for the time being. And that will be the last one. And then I'm going to conclude this video, which will be an interesting conclusion, I'm sure. The last lens I'm looking into is the 21mm lens. And let's quickly go here for spot and no subject detection. Let's, by the way, let's look at the lens mount. This lens has play. I feel it and I hear it on the X2D Mark II. Maybe you even could hear it. And let's focus on her body. I think I'm violating minimum focusing distance. Let's get her a bit more away. Focus, background, focus, focus. Yeah, this looks good. This is very sharp. Look at that here. Looks really good. I think I'm happy with that. I think the critical situation we always generated when we go into face recognition with these old XCD lenses on the brand new camera body. Let's try to do it. Let's quickly check here. Autofocus continues, grayed out, same story. Let's go here to detection. Let's go to white. And then we should see that square around Jennifer's face. And here it is. This is sharp. Sharp and in focus. Let's do this again. Sharp and in focus. This looks good. One more, always 3 trials. So this lens works. This looks really good. It has a bit of play on the camera body, but it used to have that all the time on the X2D, on the Mark I camera. It works, face recognition works, 3 shots, all sharp. The focus is reasonably fast. Let me switch back here to spot and off. Okay, 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 okay. It is nevertheless loud. Let's focus on Jennifer. Let's have a look at the lens tube here. It's actually inside focusing on this lens, but listen to the motor. Yeah, it's older lenses. What can I say? But it's working. All right, so that was a long session, guys. I hope, well, I'm not so sure you enjoyed it because I'm pretty sure that many of you, like me, are sitting on a lot of lenses which do not really show performance on the new Hasselblad X2D Mark II. And how do we want to think about that now? I think I can only speak about myself, right? I was happy with these lenses on the X1D, X1D Mark II, X2D, and I was used to the sound of the motor. I was used to slow autofocus. I was used that there is no continuous focus update, that there is no tracking and all of that. But now, since for a few weeks, I'm shooting the Hasselblad X2D Mark II, I have these absolute brilliant lenses on it where autofocus continuous is working. And that concerns actually a lot of other lenses I have. I'm going to show them to you in a moment. And I think my decision is clear. I will only keep the 120mm macro lens and the X converter. From everything that's in this lens portfolio on the table, that's all I will keep. And the reason is, I think I can use this converter probably also on your lenses. I hope they make it compatible. It's in any case too early to sell it. And the macro lens I use very often anyway in manual focusing mode. I've shown this a couple of times on my channel. The autofocus always was so slow on that lens that it is basically not usable. And I enjoy doing macro shooting with manual focusing. So I'll keep this lens, terrific image quality. I will keep the converter. But I will sell the XCD 135, the XCD 80, the XCD 65, the XCD 45, the XCD 45P, the XCD 30, and the XCD 21. They will all go to the secondary market, and I will see where I can achieve some good pricing with it. But I will very likely, after my video and after I posted it, I will very likely see pricing dropping for these lenses because people typically like to invest in lenses for the future. And these lenses have definitely no future with the Hasselblad X2D Mark II, except if you have not upgraded, stay on the X2D or maybe even on an X1D or an X1D Mark II. And you basically think it's good enough for me because the image quality of all of these lenses, and I have almost 50, I think, Hasselblad videos on my channel. The image quality of these lenses is 100% convincing. These are all super good lenses and they all work on the predecessor with some caveats, of course. If you are used, as I said, to silent shooting, to quick autofocus on the new system, You very likely have no option to migrate back, but if you have not done that move yet and you stay on the older camera systems, these lenses are very valuable. So that's my decision. That's what I will do. All right, so what will remain in my lens portfolio? Of course, the 38-100 XCD lens is my brand new lens. I love this lens. I've posted videos repeatedly about this lens. This lens will stay, is brand new, is basically made for the X2D Mark II. I will, of course, enjoy shooting the XCD 20-35E. Is also from the exclusive lineup in the XCD lens portfolio. These two lenses are the only two exclusive ones for the time being. This lens here is not equipped with compatibility for autofocus continuous, but I don't care. For me, this really is a landscape lens, and there I don't need continuous autofocus. But it is super modern. The autofocus is snappy, works very quickly in autofocus single. It's a pretty silent lens. Build quality is perfect. So this will stay here. And then I will, of course, keep the XCD 90V, the XCD 75P, the XCD 55V, the XCD 38V, the XCD 28P, and the XCD 25mm. And all of these lenses, it's all in 7 lenses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They are all mentioned by Hasselblad in the FAQ on their website, being even compatible with continuous autofocus AFC. What I will also do in the future, because some of you ask me for that, and I'm really happy to do it, is I will not only test lenses on the X2D Mark II, but I will also shoot them and show them to you on the X2D, because many of you will not have yet upgraded. And I think I should actually show you a 35-100mm lens in terms of performance on the predecessor on the X2D Mark I, and in the same way the 20-35mm. I think that is a good idea. A couple of people mentioned that in comments, said, please, we have not yet upgraded. If you do a lens review, please also show us quickly how it performs on the former X2D on the Mark I, and I'm really happy to do this and integrate it into my videos. All right, if you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy, and of course, peace out.